American soldiers were surrounded by the enemy deep in the heart of Vietnam. Their time was running out with every second wasted, but the thick jungle canopy and the treetops made it difficult for conventional aircraft to assist them. The men on the ground called for immediate close air support, providing the Air Force with accurate locations of the approaching North Vietnamese troops. Moments later, the roar of engines erupted above the treetop, signaling support was on the way. An innovative Northrop YA-9 Prototype soared through the air. The dedicated CAS aircraft with a shoulder-wing monoplane design and aluminum construction approached the area without hesitation, its twin turbofan below the wing's roots ready for a swift and precise bombing run. As the whisper of enemy movements echoed through the canopy, the YA-9 descended with calculated precision, its split ailerons poised for action. With a thunderous roar, the pilot prepared for a low-level and slow run. Fortunately for him, his YA-9 is heavily armored, with his canopy fully protected by various layers of a honeycomb structure that guarantees his safety and critical components from enemy fire. The devastating 30mm rotary cannon, firing over 4,000 rounds a minute, instantly tears through the dense foliage, shredding enemy positions relentlessly. Vietnamese troops are instantly decimated, but it is not enough to lure them away from friendly forces. The YA-9 returned for another strafing run, carving another path of devastation through the thick jungle, dropping several bombs from its wingtips and unleashing a wave of smoldering flames. This is the YA-9, the direct competitor to the Air Force's Thunderbolt II. Close air support, or CAS, involves targeted airstrikes by aircraft to neutralize enemy forces close to Allied troops, demanding precise coordination with ground maneuvers. Originating in the final stages of World War II, CAS became a crucial tactic for both Axis and Allied forces, deploying fighter and bomber aircraft like the P-47 Thunderbolt and Ju-87 Stuka for support ground operations with carefully planned strikes. Following World War II, the United States sharpened its military emphasis on CAS. The Korean War saw the introduction of the Douglas Skyraider, the first aircraft dedicated to CAS, which demonstrated remarkable precision in supporting ground troops and led to the creation of forward air controllers for mission guidance. However, the Vietnam War's complexities exposed the limitations of using World War II-era aircraft for CAS against sophisticated anti-aircraft defenses such as SAMs, RPGs, and heavy machine guns. In response, the USAF deployed modern jet aircraft like the F-105 Thunderchief and F-4 Phantom II for CAS roles. Despite their high performance, their effectiveness in CAS was limited, which led to the initiation of the AX program in 1966. The AX program was launched to create an aircraft specifically designed to support ground forces fighting in Vietnam through close air support. Essential to the program were criteria set by the USAF, which included the aircraft's ability to fly low and slow, just above jungle canopies or similar terrains, to effectively target enemy infantry. This operational requirement necessitated excellent maneuverability at low speeds and altitudes, and the capability to operate from rough airstrips near the front lines. The aim of flying low and at slow speeds was for accurate weapons delivery, striking the enemy with precision in order to avoid friendly fire or collateral damage. To successfully achieve this, the AX fighter required robust survivability against ground fire. Armor protection was necessary to protect the aircraft and pilot from enemy ground fire, including large-caliber weapons, RPGs, or even SAM emplacements. From the cockpit to protect the pilot to the fighter's vital systems to ensure optimal survivability, armor had to be strong enough to repel enemy countermeasures, but lightweight enough to keep the aircraft maneuverable. Although it was not specified, the aircraft had to withstand the impact of projectiles that were up to 23 millimeters in size. Armored flight control surfaces, engines, and fuel tanks also had to be armored for the aircraft to function properly after its first run over the hot zone. Additionally, the program specified the need for a long loiter time over battlefields, allowing for sustained operations over a target area. A wide range of ordnance options was essential to address various ground targets, coupled with a robust self-defense system to counter enemy ground fire. These specifications aimed to produce a specialized, survivable, and effective CAS aircraft for the USAF. Furthermore, what set the CAS design apart from other standard fighters at the time was its emphasis on straight or high-lift wings that could provide better control and stability at lower speeds. A rough landing gear was also essential, as the CAS aircraft was envisioned to take off from unfinished airfields close to the war zone. Standard fighters, on the other hand, were optimized for high-speed flights. Swept wings were a must, for the designs to achieve Mach speeds at the cost of low-speed handling. Their landing gear, too, put emphasis on speed and was minimalistic to maximize aerodynamics and weight. Nevertheless, as the program advanced, the aim changed from fighting the Viet Cong in Southeast Asia to engaging Soviet armored personnel in Europe in case the Red Army decided to march against the West. Whichever the case, the program challenged aircraft manufacturers that had grown accustomed to developing state-of-the-art jet fighters at costly prices. 6 manufacturers submitted various proposals, including multi-engine jets and a single-engine V-tail pusher turboprop. Overall, the manufacturers prioritized function over form, with most designs employing straight wings, bulbous canopies, and various external hardpoints on their wings. While swept wings prioritized control at high speeds, straight wings did the opposite. They were perfect for the CAS role, as they favored low-speed performance and control, maneuverability at low altitudes, and superior STOL, or short takeoff and landing capabilities, when operating from forward operating bases close to the battlefield. The USAF issued a revised request for proposals in 1970, seeking an aircraft tailored specifically to wield the mighty 30mm cannon, with an expected rate of fire of over 4,000 rounds per minute. Such a decision was based on the testimonies of Vietnam combat pilots who had expressed their concerns about the M61 Vulcan 20mm cannon. The small-caliber weapon was no longer effective against North Vietnamese armor delivered by the Soviet Union. While General Electric and Philco Ford were chosen to pursue the development of what would eventually turn out to be the mighty and devastating GAU-8 Avenger cannon, the USAF ultimately settled with Northrop and Republic out of a pool of 12 companies to continue developing the new CAS aircraft. The GAU-8 would become one of the most devastating cannons ever fielded by the American military. It was a 7-barrel Gatling-style cannon that could fire over 3,900 rounds a minute with lethal accuracy. The 30mm round came in different types. From armor-piercing to high-explosive incendiary, the cannon could easily shred armor and fortifications to pieces. As if that was not enough firepower, the GAU-8 had a range of over 4,000 feet and a thrust that was equivalent to the YA-9A's engine. Each prototype was designated YA-9 and YA-10 in March 1970 and fitted with the 20mm Vulcan cannon while the GAU-8 was under development. Both designs had similarities, such as the employment of straight wings, hardpoints, and twin turbofan engines. Nevertheless, there were differences. For instance, Northrop's YA-9A featured a high wing, while Republic's YA-10 employed a low wing. Overall, the YA-9 had a more standard aircraft appearance, with a shoulder-wing monoplane airframe made of riveted aluminum and 2 turbofan engines mounted below the wing roots. The shoulder-wing design allowed the aircraft to carry the maximum number of underwing weapons required to deliver CAS support and the best control available at lower altitudes. The engines in question were Lycoming YF-102, derived from the T-55 turboshaft, employed by the Army Chinook helicopters. Although less potent than its competitors, Northrop stuck to USAF's price savings. The cockpit sat high aft in the nose cone assembly and provided excellent visibility to the pilot to fulfill his low-altitude roles. The bubble-style canopy was housed in an aluminum-armored bathtub that, upon production, would be made of titanium to protect the pilot. Furthermore, the hydraulic flight controls were duplicated and came with a manual backup in case of malfunctions or damage. This was to ensure that a single hit would not result in control failure. The same guidelines were present in the aircraft's exterior. The fuel tanks were filled with foam to prevent leaks and fires and to deal with small arms fire. The foam was designed to suppress fuel vapor, reducing the risk of explosion or fire following damage. When it came to armament, the YA-9 packed a punch. 10 hardpoints were mounted under the wings to carry over 16,000 pounds of ordnance that ranged from rockets to conventional drop bombs. From 500 and 2,000-pound general-purpose bombs, cluster bombs, and laser-guided bombs, the YA-9 was fit for them all. Test pilots gladly received Northrop's prototype. The fighter achieved a top speed of over 520 miles per hour and, surprisingly enough, handled like a fighter aircraft, with excellent maneuverability due to the incorporation of flaps and large rudders. Although they were tailored for specific missions, the rudders and flaps were not unique in comparison to other aircraft. Nonetheless, they were essential for improving takeoff and landing performance from shorter runways and controlling the aircraft's yaw movement, or movement about the vertical axis alongside stability at low speeds. The tail assembly featured a lone vertical stabilizer, accompanied by horizontal surfaces attached to the fin. The low-clearance undercarriage was fitted below the center mass. Overall, the YA-9 CAS aircraft prototype had a length of 53 feet, a width of 57 feet, and a height of almost 18 feet. Maximum takeoff weight was approximately 41,800 pounds. In October 1972, Northrop's and Republic's aircraft were delivered to the Air Force for an in-depth 2-month evaluation. Ultimately, the A-10 was declared the winner in January 1973, and the contract was awarded to Fairchild. Over 120 flight tests were conducted. Both aircraft delivered superior performance, and the USAF acknowledged that the YA-9 did an outstanding job and satisfactorily met all the CAS requirements. Nonetheless, the Air Force stated that the selection of the A-10 over the YA-9 was attributed to Fairchild's more comprehensive testing program and the advanced development of the A-10's engines, which delivered superior performance at a higher cost. Despite its adequate performance, the USAF's decision not to choose the A-9 led to speculation regarding its exact reasoning. Besides Fairchild's extensive testing, the decision was also linked to the final states of the two competitors at the time of evaluation. Northrop was already working hard, fielding the soon-to-be famous F-5E Tiger and the highly advanced YF-17 light fighters. Most of the company's efforts were focused on these two designs, already approved by the military. While Northrop was enjoying the glory, Fairchild, on the other hand, was going through a tough time. The company was on the brink of disappearing and only had one possible contract to save its life, the Close Air Support YA-10. If the company failed to win the contract, it would cease to exist. As a result, Fairchild bet everything on its design, and the Air Force extensively considered it to keep it in business. Northrop's two prototypes were passed on to NASA and later transferred to Edwards Air Force Base in California for restoration and the March Field Air Museum for display, where they can be seen today. The YA-10 prototype evolved into the iconic A-10 Thunderbolt II that remains in service to this day, and has defied Cold War technology that has long been ditched since the 70s. The revolutionary aircraft would prove its worth in the battle against terrorism throughout the 1990s until the war in Afghanistan at the beginning of the 21st century. According to the Air Force, the venerated Close Air Support aircraft will remain in service until the 2030s, given its latest upgrades and its sheer firepower that knows no boundaries over the battlefield.